Jane and Ann Esselstyn, welcome back to the Plant Yourself podcast.
Hi, thank you for having us, Howard.
Thank you. I knew you way before you were, I remember you as Howard, and now you like Howie.
Well, yeah, it's weird. I mean, I've had this identity crisis since I was 5, and I wanted to be more grown up. And my wife still calls me Howard, so.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know who I am, but it's either a sign of neurosis or enlightenment. I'm not sure which.
Both.
Yeah. So speaking of enlightenment, the two of you have just come out with a new book, Be a Plant-Based Woman Warrior. Live fierce, stay bold, eat delicious. When did it publish?
Hold on. We need to say it for you. That's not how it says. Be a plant-based woman warrior. Live fierce, stay bold, eat delicious.
Wow, thank you.
The book.
I can see I shouldn't even have tried.
No. You can't be two voices at once.
How long has the book been out?
It came out on
a couple of days.
23rd, so about almost
a week now.
A week ago? Yeah.
It's done a crazy good job too.
Yeah. What have you learned? What have you seen in terms of sales and interest?
We don't really know, and I don't want to focus on it too much because you can't control that stuff. But the one thing we did have access to was just looking on Amazon. I don't know if people use Amazon or don't these days. It's just, your call. But we were number one in a bunch of categories. Like we have a little bestseller tag on the book, which is exciting to see.
And we were at 74 most books sold on Amazon at one point.
Oh, you were in the top 100 of all.
Yeah. That's the
crazy.
And they have got so many different criteria, I think, to make everybody feel good. Like we were number one in no-fat cooking, number one in heart health, number one in the vegan or vegetarian or something. Anyway.
Yeah, but 74th overall. Like I understand there's participation trophies, and I was a school teacher. We used to go, best wearing a vest. Like everyone had to get something. But 74 out of all books is no laughing matter.
It was amazing.
But we mostly are excited because it's a beautiful book. Mm. It's a really beautiful book.
Have you seen the book, Howard?
It's got stains already.
Great.
But I mean, it's such a gorgeous. The photography is so spectacular.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who'd you get to do the photography?
A wonderful photographer here in Cleveland.
Karen McKenna. And she just blew us away.
Have you heard of those like edible Cleveland, edible Philadelphia, edible New York, edible magazines? It's our high-end foodie magazines.
Oh, no.
Well, almost 10 years ago, after our Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease cookbook we did together, our publicist, Shar Nolan, who you may know.
I do know Shar.
She's a wonder. She got us a spot in the Edible Cleveland magazine. And when they came to at my parents' house to do the photo shoot for the magazine, this wonderful sort of nimble Karen McKenna took some pictures for the magazine, and they were beautiful. And so when this book came up, we contacted her.
Jane's husband remembered that.
Yeah, it was long ago.
And it was like, oh my gosh. And we were just so lucky to get her.
So lucky.
Oh, that's fantastic. They are beautiful. They're beautifully lit, and they're also dramatic. You have one with sandwiches with skewers coming through. It kind of looks like a tarot card.
Well, it does. And how about the lasagna shot? Have you seen the stack of lasagnas? That was one of my favorite ones to make. It's towards the end of the dinner section, but we had 3 beautiful photos of lasagna, and I was like, I don't know how.
Oh yeah, with the plates. It looks like a Charlie Chaplin movie.
And then you turn the page. There's 2 more photos. They used all 3 photos of lasagna. I mean, what dish gets 3 photos?
And the other fun thing that happened, it was May when we were photographing it. And in May, all these little flowers come out.
Tiny.
And so we ended up, it was kind of like, what is that book? Goodnight Moon, where you try and find the mouse.
Yeah.
And you look, and almost every picture, you should find a flower.
Little tiny flowers. Not every picture.
Not
the majority.
Because we started out without the flowers, and then we found them, and we got possessed to get flowers in all the pictures.
Okay, cool. I also love some of the photos are like way bigger than reality. Like there's a picture of tofu in your sesame ginger top tofu or tempeh recipe where like the piece of tofu is like the size of my face on the page. It's like,
yeah, yummy, yummy.
Yeah. So
Jane is of cooking tempeh and tofu. And it's just so good that you want to stand over the pan and just eat.
Oh, doesn't everybody do that?
I don't know. But the problem is, you're trying to serve somebody else, but you want to.
Yeah.
And a nibble isn't enough. You need to keep going.
Well, the chef's got a taste.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So, well, I wanted to kind of start like how the concept for the book came about, because I know you guys are part of a family that's written a lot of books. You have professionals. Richard Pine has kind of advised on lots of things like, no, this won't sell, change the angle. Some of Rip's books like have been re-released with new titles. Like you guys definitely think about what you have to offer and how it will be received in the market. What was the thinking that went into this is our book now?
We had no input.
No, I thought a ton.
Oh, Jane did. I didn't think at all.
No, thanks for asking this question, because this book is, well, and you know so much history. And for the last 10 years, I've done 5 books. She's done 3 books. And my mom has done the Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease cookbook with my dad. And then I did the cookbook with her about, that. So we were like being heart disease patient compliant there. And then with Rip, things were more plant strong, but I was having to behave kind of like a firefighter would eat. So this book, I was like, you know what? I really want to make the food that my mom and I make every day, all day when we're home, and we're not trying to be a heart disease patient or trying to be a firefighter. We're going to be ourselves. And I wanted to do it primarily because you can imagine in the 80s when my father started eating, no dairy and no meat, like before Colin had even coined the plant-based term that we had to use, or not, whatever, Colin expressed that term, Colin Campbell, that is. We were just eating this difficult path, and my mom made her way forward with 4 kids, all crazy athletes at home and full-time job, and my dad working full-time. She picked up this new theory and ran with it. So this book is truly a tip of the hat to my mom for giving things wheels and making this stuff go forward when it was it was a Sisyphean task. It was so uphill. I can't believe she did it and stuck with it, but she did. And now half of our family, if not more, is involved in this movement.
What do you mean half? Everybody? We have
I'm professionally.
Oh, professionally.
So yeah, all 20 of us eat this way. But Rip, myself, you, and Essie, all involved.
Ann Bingham, and Ted's wife,
and our daughter Crile's our publicist. So we're 3 generations deep into this. So I think you were kind of asking why a plant-based woman warrior. For a major reason, tip of the hat to this OG right here. She's the original.
What does OG mean?
It means old gangster. It means it's a good term. It doesn't mean old goat. It does not mean old goat.
But goat is good now too. Goat means greatest of all time.
I'd rather be an old goat than an old
She's
gangster.
the OG. She's the old goat. She's the greatest of all time when it comes to plant-based. Yes. And
anyway, I used to eat goat.
And I have 3 reasons behind the plant-based woman warrior. You can talk about your goat now, which would be hilarious. All right. Do you want me to
go ahead? Keep going.
I love the goat roast though.
We'll come back.
And the second reason is that, as you know, well, you're a great cook. I know, Howard. You do cook, and you eat your tempeh over the pan. But the majority of people who do the mental labor and the physical labor around food and food choices and cooking tend to be women. I mean, primarily women are the majority. Not always in every household, in every place. I'm not asking you to get bad hate mail. But since women have been the ones who think about, collect, shop, buy, prepare, and serve food, historically, in America at least, those are the ones who have unconsciously and unknowingly sort of set up a lot of the disease states we have in America from eating the greasy, meaty, cheesy food choices that have made us sick. So I'm asking women to be bold and fierce and make food that's delicious with more plants. Just as they say in Ireland, eat more veg. And I really want them to feel emboldened by this. Like, we're 3 generations deep. It's possible you can stay healthy. We all in the plant-based movement are pounding on the same drum. But also the third reason is that, as you know, I have 3 brothers, and growing up in America, any female has got this strange relationship with her body, her identity, food, and how she presents herself and all this stuff. But I was one of 4 kids in our family, and we all 4 were nationally ranked athletes, especially going to college. So here I was swimming on scholarship at University of Michigan, having to train twice a day, crazy fit, strong. And I didn't like what was happening to my body. Like, I was getting curves, I was filling out and getting shapely. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. I didn't identify with myself. I didn't know what to eat. I didn't know how to train if I wasn't going to eat. It was so confusing. And right at that moment is when my parents went on this. We hadn't had the term plant-based yet, but we went on. They were like, hey, we're not eating any meat or dairy or added oil or fat or sugar or salt, blah, blah, blah. So we were all, my brothers and I were like, well, what's going on? And it ended up being a really good match for me. And since then, I have been sort of the same size, and I haven't been burdened with a thought about calories or servings or amounts. Or I'm so thankful, so wicked thankful that I became a plant-based woman warrior when I did, due to her. So I hope that all women can be free of that. And I know some men obviously do struggle with their identity and their body and food as well. And I hope that they can be free of that. Yeah. Be fierce, be bold, be delicious.
I wanted to go back to one other thing, and that is that my focus has always been the heart disease patients and that idea of Plant Perfect that Rip dubbed my husband's book. And Rip and Jane have more been Plant Strong. Mm-hmm. So when I have contributed my recipes, in the book, they tended to be more toward the heart disease patients. But what's so great is our editor wanted to make that distinction. So in this book, there on almost every recipe, it will say to make heart disease friendly, leave out the avocado, or it will just say this recipe is heart disease friendly. So that is there in every recipe.
I actually just got a message this morning from a person in Australia who said, the book just arrived down here in Australia. Thank you so much. And I had a stent put in 2018 or 19 or something. And what is most exciting about this book, besides the beautiful photos, is that you have indicated for me which recipes are heart disease friendly or how to make it heart disease friendly. So I really was so pleased with our editor for making that suggestion to do so.
Yeah. And
you wanted me to talk.
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Harvey. Harvey. Sorry. Howard.
It's Hugo, isn't it? And what were you going to say?
I was going to tell you why I want to be an old goat is because I used to eat goat. And I grew up with my crazy, wonderful father.
And mother.
But my father in particular, when it rained, we'd eat the snails off the driveway, and he'd call them escargot. Snails,
shoot the city pigeons and then
call them squab. Or we would have we were famous for the Crile family for our goat roasts. So when my husband and I got married, our night before was a goat roast.
With the head on a spike next to the goat roast with the ruffles around its head.
Hard to believe.
Awful. So awful.
That was 61 years ago, please. But even to say how bad I was, the first meal I prepared, for my husband's parents and our very elegant landlords was beef tongue. I can't even imagine how you can chew it. I mean, how you can. Anyway.
So if she can go plant-based,
anybody can.
Right. Yeah.
And my other really strong thing is that when my husband and all of this book, all of us are based on his shoulders, because he had this idea and he carried it through. I mean, Dean Ornish on the West Coast had the idea, and he did his own thing, and my husband did his thing on this part of the country. And until one of my husband's initial patients came to him and said, "Oh, I just saw an article in Discovery magazine that someone who's doing the same thing as you are." And that's how my husband learned that Dean Ornish existed and was doing the same thing.
Wait, let him ask. He has questions he's trying to ask.
Well, wait. Oh, I want to add one thing, and that is that I really feel sorry for people trying to do plant-based now because of the vegan junk food world. It's so hard.
Well, it isn't even vegan. They call it plant-based even, and it's not. There's no plants in it. It's just chemicals and powder.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's a real thing, you know. So on the one hand, we can say it's so great that there's more options. It's so great that there's entry ramps, and it's
wonderful for the planet.
Yeah, and we have to be discerning because the categories change. So like we all want shortcuts, right? So we want to say, okay, so the category of plant-based foods is a category that I might approach for my health, and without even noticing, society has moved on and it now means something totally different. But because of our need to identify and to be part of, to root for a team, it's almost like if all of your favorite players you got the Cleveland Guardians now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If all of them were traded to who's the big rival? Is it the
We're
Bengals?
Not sports fans. I don't even know.
It's almost like if all the players were traded, but you're still rooting for the shirts, right? Like,
yeah.
So, one of there was a lot I wanted to ask you that you've already sort of touched on, and one is when you're talking about like the distinction between the heart-friendly recipes, the heart patient recipes, and the plant-strong recipes. And I think there's somewhere in the first section of the book where I think, Jane, you're talking about there can be danger in trying to be too perfect, in saying like, okay, I have to adhere to the very, very strictest, even though there's really no need for it. And I was really delighted to read that.
Yeah, like we have seen some patients obviously have to, and you've seen those patients who need to be compliant because they have horrible heart disease. And, they're on the verge of having to get bypasses or stents, or they've already had numerous bypasses. And stents.
This is where my husband comes in really in a strong way for those, really few people. And Jane.
But the reason we wanted to bring it up is because it kind of goes back to us being women and just hearing the stories of other women in particular who, friends, family members who think, oh, there's more strict guidelines. I can no meat, no problem, no dairy, no oil, no sugar, and suddenly they're eating just dry oats. And no, this is not what this is about. This is this beautiful, bountiful, welcoming world of all kinds of plants and grains and greens and berries and vegetables. And whoopsies, I just had, 15 dark chocolate almonds and I'm awake all night. And, we have, people might have a little openness and we have seen eating disorders come and go with people. And it is something we don't want to be a part of. There's no competition. We never talk about weight. We never talk about size. We don't even share numbers really. My dad in his book with heart disease is a different story. This is for women and men who want to read it. Thank you, beautiful, strong men who are reading it.
It's hard to interrupt, Jane, but I'm going to quickly do that because in both books that we've done, we have never put in calories
or portions or serving size. Everyone's, what's a serving size? And we're like, you've trained your brain to think that someone else should know better than you. And no, if I want to eat 15 servings of this salad I can't get enough of or whatever, I don't know what a serving is. If I want to eat most of the salad I made last night, which I think I did, it was so good. And I just sort of kept elbowing everyone out to get some more of my salad. And that's what I did. And I also had the pad thai from our new cookbook.
So I'm curious, actually, it's sort of a generational question around, because let me frame it by saying, like, the plant-based community has been a community that has embraced me. It's full of wonderful people with best of intentions, very beautiful souls. And I've noticed a lot of what I would interpret as misogyny, whether it's obvious or not obvious, whether it's in terms of weight, whether it's in terms of portrayal of women who aren't necessarily part of the movement. And you know, your book starts with a story, with a really powerful story of misogyny. The guy who wore the "No Fat Chicks" T-shirt, which had you like missing out on a fun experience because you were hiding under a desk in shame. And you know, so I'm curious, like, how you guys have navigated, you know, this community where people are all basically pushing in the same direction, saying the same thing, and yet there's been a huge blind spot around how women are talked to, portrayed, and guided.
Well, I don't think anyone has, again, I think how you said that well, it's not been a super conscious thing. It's just, as our kids say, like low key subconscious, which means that it's visible and no one's really talking about it. But I definitely felt like my mom and I for years would show up on stage cooking because we could cook, but also I felt like we were the women coming and doing the non-optional work of feeding people and showing people how to do that. But we also, it was a ton of fun. I mean, she is a pistol. I never know what she's going to say. She's just a loose cannon. It's a riot. Like our YouTube channel together, I oftentimes don't know what she's going to bring up. But anyway, so we kind of created this funny line of like, we had some power because there were two of us. We had some power because we were mother and daughter. We had some power because she was so funny. She is so funny. And so it wasn't just like, hi, here's now, you know, Mary Jo blah to do a oatmeal for everybody. But I didn't like how we just were doing that. I often was like, hey, I have some research I've done with the Cleveland Clinic. I'd love to talk about it. But, you know, that didn't always make the showrunner. I do see, especially with, like, we have amazing friends and colleagues. I'm sure you know them, Monica Agarwal, Sarai Stanzik, all these MDs who are in the plant-based space.
And their stories are in this book.
Yes, their testimonies are in this, or their experiences are in here. But I've seen them make their way into the plant-based space, but not get the microphone or the spotlight as often as people who don't have these amazing stories like they do. And these women get 90 of the autoimmune disease out there. 75% happen to women versus men. But men get the stage with so many other things. So I'm really proud of you. You're clearly married to someone who's got a great equal voice, and you're clearly a father of a daughter, because you can see and feel that we all have equal presence out there. So yeah, I agree that there's been some lack of variety out there. Like it felt like for a while, it was like, I mean, I'm talking decade plus ago, it was like the white-haired white man show. And now we get the white-haired white women on stage with us, but there's so many more. And when I have my conference every March, it's for women. And I try to get all my presenters to be female, with the
except my husband,
except my father, who's an honorary woman. I told Kim Williams he qualified because of his name. To speak. But I try to get women, and women who are a variety of different colors. One of my favorite presenter who is fascinating is Robin Shutkin. She is, I could call her the fairy godmother of the microbiome. She's got so much to say, and she has got so much knowledge. And so does Dr. B or Will Bolshevitz. Love him, adore him, but they're out there, and arguably she's been out there longer. So it is interesting how our focus is drawn to maybe not in a balanced way. But thank you for asking that, Howard. That's wonderful to hear from you, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like one of my points of pride in my career when I participated in Plant Stock and with Engine 2 is how forward the organization has been in terms of giving women doctors, women researchers the microphone and looking at diversity and equity. Because I mean, the other thing is that the old white male, white-haired doctors, are doctors, and doctors have been brought up a certain way, thinking like, I know what's best for my patients. Why don't they do it? And I think, there is some of that. And I've seen doctors get up and talk about dieting and weight, and you're just not trying hard enough. And I think it's different for me as a man to think about weight, to think about body image, because I never had that experience of someone wearing no fat dude's shirt and being ashamed of my body or worried about it. Like I think we need a greater consciousness and sensitivity, and I think it's in this book in terms of this is about positive change, not about running away from problematic self-images.
Oh, thank you for saying it like that. Thank you. Well, it really is. It is like a community. We're hoping to welcome everybody, no matter how they identify.
And Jane's section, I don't know if you read it, about the below the belt.
He's heard that talk a lot.
You've heard that?
Kuva, yeah.
Kuva? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, your listeners shouldn't miss Kuva.
Well, they can read the book. Well, but Howard, no, that's real. I thank you so much for bringing that up. And I mean, like you could not imagine, what if we had shirts on and said, "Hey, no bald birds"? You'd be like, what is that all about?
Right.
Maybe you shave your head. Like it's just, you don't do that. And we got to, we've always felt that way, but finally it's okay to speak up about a lot of these things because, our culture's waking up.
Yeah, and we know that in terms of marketing, like if you tell people that they can avoid heart disease, most people will yawn. If you can tell them they can lose 10 pounds, they'll jump up and down and pull out their wallets. Right? So the emphasis on weight loss, I was so happy to see it absent. Like you're talking about positive sexuality, you're talking about living a full life, and I've seen, I'm curious, Jane, when you said like you were having all these sort of body issues, body dysmorphias, and how did plant-based address those? Because I could just as easily say, okay, so now I found a way to eat to stay thin like I'm supposed to, as opposed to like I was empowered. What was that? What was that dynamic for you?
Oh, I think I had the perfect storm because I was training, 4+ hours a day at University of Michigan, D1 swimming. Like it was, here we go. You got to show up. And, I was Big Ten champ and qualified for NCAAs. Like it was, you have to eat. You were a machine. And so what I found right kind of then in that moment is that eating plant-based, I didn't lose. I would never wanted to be thin. I never wanted to be whatever. I like my size. I've got some power.
She's always been the same size.
And my
must
point
have been
is
a difficult birth.
She was born, believe it or not, in London.
But anyway, right around that time, it just what happened is it mellowed out when I eating plant-based, which was again odd in the 80s. We were eating. I remember having so many like whole wheat bagels at the time with apple butter. Like I didn't know about hummus. I didn't know about so many things that we know about now. Beans. I didn't know about beans. Like you kept learning these things, and like more and more and more and more and more food groups became available and delicious. But to answer your question, I did not want to be thin. I wanted to just keep my strength, my power, and feel better about just how I identified. Like you grow up for, 18, 20 years with a certain body shape and feeling no shame around it. And I was feeling not shame, but just more like, what's up? This is not how I identify. And I don't know if dysmorphia is the right word to use because I didn't think I was, I did sort of feel better, and my shape was more what I identified with eating plants. And again, the timing was bizarrely perfect for me. A year into my swimming, or a year into eating on my own at college. So,
and I think for all kids, it's hard when you're eating on your own and you're choosing your own food totally for the first time.
Yeah.
That's difficult.
Yeah, I remember thinking, whatever's free, I just eat that.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, I would have gone to, any cult if they had a pizza party at college, right?
That's so true. That's so true. That's so true.
You mentioned that this is a 3-generation endeavor in the family. I'm wondering, you had at the very beginning, you had a list of all the grandchildren and their reasons for enjoying plant-based. I'm wondering what you see in that, and especially in the women, the girls and the women in this generation, how they
a whole lot of talking about.
Yeah,
it's interesting because this was my
roses is to his point.
This was my
task
to interview them, and so what you are saying, Rose, who was at the time 22, our son Ted's daughter. She said, plant-based makes me feel free and has saved me from the emotionally turbulent diet of restriction so many friends in their 20s are caught in. And I think that's to your point. And I think that a lot of them feel like that. I mean,
Crile's is sort of defiant of that.
And Crile, who is 22 also, and that's Jane's daughter, and is a top swimmer, said plant-based is empowering for me, revolutionary for the world, creative, and always a talking point with my friends and coaches. I feel empowered when I can educate them about it and be a living, breathing example of it, which she certainly was.
She has a bunch of Division III NCAA records, and she won 6 out of her 7 events at NCAAs, and Kenyon College women won nationals last year.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. And on plants.
And Sophie, aged 11, she is one of Rip's daughters. Whenever I eat good food, I feel good. And whenever I eat unhealthy food, something in my stomach just feels wrong. I'm lucky because it's been easy for me since I've been plant strong my whole life. Being plant-based doesn't mean just eating salads all the time. It means so many fun, unique things, like a kale cake with raspberry frosting, not just vanilla frosting with pink dye in it, but lemons and raspberries. And it's just really fun and tasty. Mm-hmm. But you can't beat Hope, age 7, Rip's youngest, who said, if you eat meat, you die.
So that reminds me of a very uncomfortable experience I had when my daughter, whom you know, was about, I want to say 11, and I got a call from the neighbor saying, my daughter is in tears because she thinks she's about to die from cancer because we feed her milk. And, there's something very, it's very innocent and cute and like heartening to hear your kids like sort of echoing things back. And like we had to sit down with her and like talk about like, yes, we think this is the best way to eat. Yes, there's a lot of science. Yes, there's a lot of personal experience. Yes, there's ethical concerns. And there's something else about how to be in the world with people without, lording it over them or scolding or being superior. And I guess I'm wondering, especially the
Everybody lives. It seems amazing. Whatever you do,
Right. But I'm wondering about like I guess Rose was talking about her peers who are like, what do the girls see in their world? Because they're so different, right? They're really like a different species from a different planet in the way they eat, in the way they think about their bodies than the mainstream, which is all about like, if it feels good, do it now, just let loose, enjoy yourself. You work hard. You should deserve to play hard. Like what's their experience of navigating the world as kids who've been plant-based from birth?
It's gotten quite easier, Howard, to be honest. Like, kids, like your kids, I'm sure, besides your neighbor, if people have peanut allergies. So there's a huge awareness around that. People have wheat allergies. They have milk allergies. So not eating meat and having those other, and no dairy, put me in that category, just it's not been that hard and that much resistance. You go to certain places and you can arrive. You're like, oh, do you want to have? Are you paleo? Are you gluten free? Are you vegan? There's just so many options. I mean, and with Instagram, boom. I mean, our kids are. Instagram came to be right. Actually, the first time I heard about it was the very first plant stock, which was, around 2010, 2011. It may have been around way longer. I just was late to the party, but so that's been their childhood. And on Instagram, they've seen so many beautiful plant-based foods. So I think they have oddly felt supported. And if anything, they're like, oh, let's make these sweet potato, peanut butter, dark chocolate Reese cup things. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like, I'm glad I never knew about that kind of junk. Every day they want to make a new treat, just try a new thing.
What about the conversations about sort of body image and weight? Like, what are they privy to and hearing from their friends who, like, Rose said, like, her friends are struggling. Do we?
You can talk to Rose. She has her own podcast too.
Oh, okay.
I don't, and I think it's a hard conversation to have with anybody who's struggling with their body image and how they feel.
Should we talk about the food?
Well, Bana, who is 19, Jane's daughter, she wrote in this thing, right now, I love being plant-based because I know what I'm putting in my body is meant for my body. And there's something special about taking care of myself in a special way. Mm-hmm. Which is, it's pretty amazing that someone 19 feels that way.
Yeah, can think that way.
Yeah, and, and the lived experience, I think, all those years, like, I don't know if they've gone out to parties and have experimented with, pink frosty cupcakes and cheese pizzas and things, and whether they tell you or don't tell you. But I imagine that, having a set point of vibrant health is.
I mean, that's the key.
Well said.
That's the key. The set point, because everybody, does crazy things, but you come back. You have a home.
Yeah. And it's funny how, like, we are plant-based, and I remember someone was moving, or a college room was emptying out, and we took all kinds of things to take home to eat, like we had the oats, and I remember having like a whole bunch of whole wheat pasta, and we had a back box of crackers that I thought, oh, these look like they could be good. And my daughter was like, no, they say that they're nut thins or whatever they are, but they have milk in them. And so she sort of just, I was like, oh, I think I could get lost in this box of crackers. And she just, no, there's milk in it. And you would never think there would be milk in crackers. Speaking of which, we have a great cracker recipe in here.
Oh, what page?
I've never been so on crackers. Oh, they're on page 203, actually.
Look at you. Seed and millet crackers. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Flax seeds.
Yeah. And,
they are delicious.
And they started out as muffins, and for some reason they didn't work, and they were gross and sort of wishy. No one would eat them. I mean, my mom and I don't eat them. We know they're not so great. I put them outside on the bird feeder for the bird to eat. The birds to eat. The birds wouldn't eat them. Seed and millet cracker. So anyway, I turned it into a slurry and made it into these crackers, and they are a winner.
Uh-huh.
And it was sort of fun because the other night, right on the 23rd, the day that the book came out, we spoke in a local library, and Jane made a whole lot of these little crackers to give to everybody, just a little tiny cracker. And everybody loved them.
Yeah.
Wow. Is that?
And while they were eating crackers, we had them dragging the tire. I don't know if you've seen the videos of my mom dragging the tire with the.
Yeah, I was your mom's workout partner one year at Black Mountain.
So we had tire dragging going on during this book launch. It was so funny.
Yeah, so it's funny, like shape-based foods. Like, no, as a muffin, it's terrible, but as a cracker, it's delicious.
Exactly. It's so funny how that worked out.
Yeah. So how do you, I mean, I don't know how many recipes there are. Must be over 100 in the book.
Over 125, I think, plus or so.
Well, actually, about our recipes is kind of crazy because we got the okay to do this book. What was the date?
Oh my gosh. March 7th, 2020.
Just when COVID.
Just before everything went sideways.
And fortunately, we live next door to each other. So just this nice little pine needle path.
And then about 1 year into like figuring out how to shop during COVID and cook and can we talk? So we figured out, okay, we can be connected. We're a pod. We're going to trade food back and forth because we, like she just said, we literally go across the pine needles. That's the first picture on the book, actually, us walking down that path together. It's on the very, very first back of the page. Anyway, we decided about a year into this whole project, we're like, okay, let's see where we are. And we were assessing how many recipes we had. We had 7 breakfasts. We had 8 lunches. We had 9 dinners. And we had 44 desserts. So we knew that we were on the right path, making a cookbook for women. We pared it down to 34 desserts, I think.
But we were so lucky because my husband and I, being elderly, did not get out at all. And so we ended up watching a lot of TV.
At night.
And so at night. So there we would be at night watching TV and our door would rattle and I would know, oh, it's Jane. And my mouth would begin to water because it would be another sample of a brownie. And I think she made how many? 12 different tries. And then I think she had 3 different recipes. So practically every night we would get one little brownie to taste. It was so exciting because, normally I never make desserts or, I rarely do. So it was really elegant living during COVID.
Yeah. You got to try the out of sight brownies out of sight.
All right. Yeah. I've been going through the breakfasts because that's the time of the day when I have like discretionary time to do stuff. So I've made the banana muffins.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they taste like because
you made the lemon?
Did you like the muffins?
I didn't taste them. I left them out to cool, and I came back and they were gone.
What? Did the cat eat them?
I don't have a cat. I have a wife and children.
That's funny.
So I got to make them again. I got to, I'm like watching the bananas every day. Like, are you ready yet? Are you overripe enough?
I always make it as a bread, not muffins, but then I like to toast.
Yeah, I couldn't wait that long.
Nice.
It's like 50 minutes for bread, 25 minutes for muffins. That was easy.
All right, with you.
I think you're going to love the lemon oatmeal. It is bizarre. It's like eating a scoop of sunshine.
Okay, next page, lemon oatmeal.
But Howie, what Jane did with the lemon oatmeal, you won't believe as a dessert.
Have you ever had lemon squares?
Yeah.
Like old school lemon squares are probably like egg yolk and gelatinous.
Yeah, it's sort of like a little meringue thing in a square.
Yeah. So around there.
Okay.
You see the lemon squares?
Lemon squares.
Well, and these are on page, what page is this? Goodness. Look on page 288, 89. And what we have here is the crust here is a raisin and pecan crust.
Got it.
And then the top layer of frosting is our usual tofu based lemon pudding kind of thing. But the filling itself, like the lemon yellowish filling there, you know what that's made of?
Looks like the oatmeal.
Don't look at it. It's made of the lemon oatmeal, but I amped up the lemons. I amped up the little bit of maple syrup. So it's kind of, it's more desserty. So it's sweet and it's bright and it's got that lemon zing. And I put in a little bit, those threads. What are those threads that turn things?
Saffron.
Saffron. Is it saffron? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
To make it more yellow. And then once you let oatmeal cool, it sets and it becomes sort of this thick gelatinous. It isn't soupy and goopy. So it literally is like a breakfast dessert.
But it's definitely dessert.
With the core of it being oatmeal.
Mm-hmm.
Jane, you got to make that again.
I know. I got hungry just looking at it.
So what's a great story of an interesting recipe development, like something that you started somewhere or had an idea and ended up somewhere totally unexpected?
Besides the bird feeder with the muffins? I'm kidding. Almost every recipe has some story. My mom has a great sandwich that
this apple lidded sandwich. Is on page 114.
Oh, that's the one that Meg likes.
Oh, great.
And this sandwich is so crazy because our son Ted was in Colorado working on he has got this city bench where they take. Anyway, he was doing some muraling out in Colorado and went out for lunch and had this crazy sandwich, and an apple slice was instead of the top slice of bread. And it is crazy what apple as the lid does to the taste of whatever you're eating. It's sweet, it's crisp. It just revolutionized. I mean, you could have absolutely something tasteless inside it, and it tastes good with this apple in it. And Meg from Mama Says had seen that sandwich, and she was the one that named it apple lidded. I love that.
Yeah. Well, there's stories behind almost all of our recipes. I mean, I could look at like the woman warrior burger, for example. That comes from so many immersions working on our burger. And you've been to our immersions. Like, we really want to have a burger that people are going to enjoy eating, either with a bun, without a bun, with toppings, without toppings. And I always say a tip of the hat to Jeff Novick for us understanding how to make veggie burgers. And he has a beautiful recipe of his own. And then we've gone on to tweak it and try other things. So this is like 12 years later version of the burger, but the Women Warrior Burger is the one that we have, made by our beautiful, amazing, capable staff of women chefs at our immersions. Brenda Reed is the main person behind that, and Darlene, who's sometimes her helping assistant cook, they're just amazing. So that I would say is something I love. But what I'm obsessed with, and if you can't tell from the cover of the book and from the cover of the Build Your Own Bowl section, is just bowls. And I'm sure you make them at your house, but if you have any just cooked complex carbohydrate, from whole wheat pasta to sweet potatoes to Yukon Gold potatoes, rice noodles, anything, and just add some sort of greens underneath them and greens on top of them, and purple cabbage or purple onion or purple sprouts or cooked cauliflower or broccoli or avocado or corn or mango, whatever. I mean, there's endless amounts of things you can add, and to pull it all together so you've got some sort of grain, some sort of green, some sort of bean or tofu or tempeh, is a sauce. And we have so many sauces that we make and we love, that our editor was like, listen, you guys, I think we need to start your cookbook with the sauce section. And we were like, why? And we said, well, because you guys talk about sauces being your secret weapons and the magic to it all, and the cha-cha and the wham bam, and you have to have it. So we was like, well, what can we please put breakfast first and then maybe do sauces? He said, fine, we'll do breakfast and then we'll go right to sauces, because in almost every recipe going forward, or every recipe section, you guys refer to your sauces and your salsas and your hummuses and your gravies and your guacamole and your dressing. So that is in the beginning, which I think is actually brilliant, or a good move. It was a good move.
Gotcha. So I want to ask you about the source of one innovation that I had never seen before, which is you've got your round tortilla and you cut one radius and then fold it three ways. That's brilliant. Where did that come from?
That was I think on, I'm going to say it wrong, TikTok, social media, Instagram.
Okay. But
someone had done that, and it seemed so brilliant. And I think they probably put like butter and then cheese and then meat, and it just looked like that. But you can put anything you want, and it's just so cool. You have to take that one little slice initially so that it can fold. And then once you have that slice, you just put in a layer of hummus and then a layer of this and a layer of that and a layer of that. And you keep folding it over. And my mom likes everything crisp. So we just put it in the panini sandwich grill, the crisper. And it was good. It's a ton of fun. Try that, Howard, and put whatever you want, whatever you have in it.
Yeah, I love it because I love making, wraps, and usually things are like end up in my lap or on the plate, or so this just looked like a very smart way to contain it.
It is.
And it was so fun trying to do it with our publisher, because to get them to do it in the right order, we had to kind of
keep editing.
Keep editing. Yeah.
At one point, they numbered it wrong. They went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vertically. I was like, no. It's side to side.
So, sounds like one of those like GRE type tests for you have to
exactly
put the panini in the right order. Yeah. So about do you guys do TikTok as well?
Well, no, TikTok. From what I understand, I could be totally wrong, and I could be educating you guys. I don't know where we all are on our knowledge about it, but TikTok doesn't have videos. They call them Reels, Reels, and these Reels, the way that they're done, or they're editable or whatever, is really great. I think it's part of why TikTok is such a growing, enormous fascination. My daughter is our publicist, and she makes amazing videos. But she say, they're not videos. I'm making Reels, because Instagram now has Reels also. So
what's the difference?
Exactly. It's just moving picture versus movie versus film, Reels versus videos. But the Reels, I think you can edit. You can put things, you can write with words on it. You can for example, I don't know if you saw, do you follow Instagram at all?
I for my mental health,
How are you there? Are you frozen?
I avoid most social media.
Oh, okay. Well, we have a Instagram up on my site of my husband and I just had our 25th wedding anniversary, and we asked for everybody in our family, every branch of our family, to give us a dance.
Huh.
And we felt like the king and the queen, having the jesters come and perform. But everyone did a dance, and at the end, Crile, my daughter, our publicist, had everybody dance like their favorite fruit or vegetable. So we had this great dance of people coming in and doing these things. So on that video, she was able to write, corn with the silk on top of the corn, dancing. And, someone bouncing like this. This is asparagus. A reel is something you can write on easily. Uh-huh. I think a video, when you take a video, it's complicated, and you have to go into, other software to figure it out. And Reels from TikTok. I could be so wrong. But that's what I understand. So,
well, because I can just, I understand. I know that people are like TikTok famous, and I can just picture the two of you being, huge TikTok stars.
YouTube famous.
Howard, I am worse than you on anything to do with social media. I would never have a picture taken of me if it weren't for Jane. And I do it because she says so.
Uh-huh.
Otherwise, I would just please go put my head in a barrel of water and be happy.
Barrel of
water.
All right. Well, I enjoyed that image. Are you on your YouTube channel? Are you making some of the recipes in the new book?
Yes, it just came out, so we had an announcement on YouTube. But our first one coming up is a chana masala, a chickpea masala. Chole is actually what it's called by my friend Koyan, who she is of Indian descent from India, and she came to help us do this, and she took us on a field trip, and it was such a fun learning about how to do this chickpea masala, in a very plant perfect way.
Yeah, and it's funny because you were talking about when you started out being plant-based, you're having whole wheat bagels with apple butter. And it really was, the thing that opened it up for you was opening up to other cultures who have had long plant-based traditions, whether it's Middle Eastern hummus or Mexican or, rice and beans or chickpea chana masala.
But I would leave my husband for Thai food. I swear. I love Thai food so much.
Yeah. Thank goodness you don't have to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. or oh yeah, pad thais. There's so many. I mean, the world eats such good food, and in the right ratios, not just slabs of steak,
Great.
like we tend to.
So the book's been out for a week. I imagine you've had, reviewers' copies out for a little while before that, but you've also had a chance to hear some things from people on Amazon. What are you hearing specifically from women about the book?
Oh, that's a great question. A lot of the reviews that are up are from women, and they are, I mean, some one was so long I barely got through the whole thing. But so glowing, and I mean, a little embarrassing, like, this is so nice. Thank you. But I think kind of per what you were saying, you were so focused on, not focused, but you were wonderful how you identified with the part of the book that was really for women and, their identity and being part of something. And so I think there's a lot of people saying, I read the introduction. I usually don't read the introductions to cookbooks, but I read this over a 2-day period. And actually one man reviewed it for us. He said, I read this cookbook before I got into the recipes. I read the opening part and I laughed, I cried, I felt in harmony with it. I felt seen, I felt heard. It was wonderful to hear his comments.
Nice. Last question. You chose the word warrior for the title of the book. Why? Because of kind of in a backfilly kind of way. It rhymed, it had alliteration with woman warrior. And I think for me, my mom is my daily dose of hell yeah. I mean, she is up and at it every morning, running, raking, doing yoga with me, dashing off to the store, running around, coming back, putting things away, then getting off to go do this and then this and then that. I mean, she's nonstop. So I wanted to be a plant-based woman warrior like she is. And, on no lifestyle medication because of our healthy ways of eating. So she was the original warrior. And I thought it was a great term to go with. And what does it mean to you? Because, like when I think of warrior, I think of, war and fighting and advocacy, but also like there's the peaceful warrior. A man's perspective. Yeah. So what is the female? What is your perspective on warrior? What comes up for you? I think women are really fighting on the front of non-optionals, like keeping ourselves fed and healthy and together and loving and in proximity. And I mean this as being a plant-based, warrior. Keep those plants, fight to have those plants have a place and have, to be part of your lived experience. So be a warrior in ways that are going to bring your family and yourself and your friends, your community into a healthy, loving place. Be a plant-based woman warrior. Live fierce, stay bold, eat delicious. Wow. I shudder to think about your media training. We didn't have any. So they ran away in terror. Well, you got this. Anything else you want to say about the book or about what you're up to that I haven't asked? Well, what we're so excited about, Howie, is that we are having live events again. So our first live event is actually September 17th here in Cleveland, Ohio, or Chardon, Ohio, actually, just east of Cleveland. And we have 2 more spaces open, and it's a really small, intimate event. And we make a ton of food. So we kind of wheel you out the door at the end because we just eat all day. But we're doing a ton of activity as well to make room to try more recipes. Where do people go? Where do people go to find out about that? To JaneEsselstyn.com, JaneEsselstyn.com, and we'll have all events listed there. And I mentioned earlier in your show, also on JaneEsselstyn.com, information about our March event, which is always based, for women, because the International Day of the Woman is March 8th. So we have our event somewhere around March 8th, as close as we can get to that day. And this year's theme is, don't be shocked, is going to be
a plant-based woman warrior.
Wow. And that's like the 3rd anniversary of the book proposal.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's quite a
Thank
long
you for helping people.
That's quite a long gestation period as far as I understand those things.
I think with supply chain and ink and paper, we were in line behind other books to get out with our publisher. I mean, Penguin had I think a lot of people were reading and writing during the pandemic.
Wow. Well, I'll include links to that. So JaneEsselstyn.com.
In our YouTube site, which is at YouTube, just go to Jane Esselstyn channel. And it's all, we have 175 plus videos that are all free plant-based recipes. The recipes are not always available because they're copyright with our publishers, but some of them are listed when we can.
Okay. Well,
Jane,
people should buy the book.
Also be at Plant Stock, which is
Plant Stock is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. People buy the book at Amazon, wherever. And Plant Stock's coming up on September 9, 10, 11.
Yeah, is that in Black Mountain again?
No, that's virtual.
Oh, okay.
And that's great. I mean, that's going to be really fun with a lot of good cooking and
it's a food focused one. It's all about the food.
Gotcha. Any plans to get those back in person?
I don't know where Rip and company are on that one because we're not part of the back club meeting.
I think that other things are going to be in person, but Plant Stock not.
I see.
But his other events, he has
immersions are
immersions.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. And they're wonderful.
Yeah, those are a ton of fun.
All right. One last question. What are you guys listening to? Good music? Anything?
I like listening to my kids' Spotify because it makes me feel close to them. So I have no idea. It's just a variety of what they like, which I love catching up on. Except for my son, he's got too much rap in there. I'm just not.
Me? The last thing I listened to is Fields of Gold. I love it.
Oh, Eva Cassidy or Sting?
Yes.
Sting, Eva.
No.
Eva Cassidy.
Eva.
But I also listen to Sting.
Okay. I once listened to Eva sing that without crying. It was like 2014. There was this one time when I held it together. Otherwise, destroys me.
The last time, I listened to it just a month or so ago, walking across a field of
barley
at the farm. And I was with Ted, and it was early in the morning, and he played it, and it was like unbelievable. There we were in that field of gold.
Oh, wow.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's a plant-based song, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And about a strong woman.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jane and Ann Esselstyn, as always, just a delight to catch up with you guys. The book, Be a Plant-Based Woman Warrior. Live fierce. Stay bold. Eat delicious. I'm getting better at that.
Thank you.
It's available wherever books are sold. You should get it. It will, the cover alone will give you like a year's worth of ideas. And so far, everything I made out of it has been a hit, and one day I'll get to taste it.
Good.
All right, great. Thanks for talking.
All right, thanks a lot. Be well. Talk to you again soon.
All right. See you.
Bye.
Bye.